Hey, I want to show you how I rethemed the ride in Epcot Journey into Imagination. I made a video about it about 6, 7 months ago now, and I want to show you my breakdown of how I went about redoing the whole thing from beginning to end in my process. Let's start in Blender. Blender is where I did most of the work. You can see here we have the entire ride. So you can see the layout right here. We go in through there, and if I just scrub through the timeline, you'll watch as the scene plays out, and you can see the little car going to each of the locations. Now, the very first thing I did is in Blender, I modeled the ride vehicle. Here's my ride vehicle. You can see it is keyed to just a random color right now, but this was my first step into my world of redesigning. I wanted to just play around with it and create this ride vehicle. Once I had that, and I felt pretty good about that I wanted to, once I had that and I was ready to kind of tackle this whole project, the first thing I did is I went and found this graphic. Let me try to get rid of a lot of these. That's good enough. All right. So the first thing I did when I wanted to undertake this project, and I wanted to recreate this in Blender, is I found this graphic online at the wonderful place Parklore, and it has the intricacies of every room to the specificity that I needed. It did not have to be perfect. I did not need a inch by inch diagnostic. I needed something to build upon. And what I did with this is this let me start to make the floor and started to make the base. So I made the base and I made some walls. The walls were very simply extruded 2D planes that they used to match all along the outsides. I estimated the heights about what I'd need, and I just went piece by piece building the rooms. If I wasn't sure how it would look, I'd zoom in there and check it out. From there, I started modeling openings that I knew I needed, platforms, you can see here, walls that were curved, large structures. So for example, you can look at, if we look at our, the part where Figment farts on you currently, I had to build this kind of large cylinder. It was pretty straightforward. I didn't do anything. I used a cylinder shape and I cut out 3 holes. And I built all of these pieces that you see again and again. I built the platform that Figment sits on, and I used this outline to get started. Once I did that, thanks to Parklore, it was all I needed, and I had a very simple shell of the ride. This shell is going to be my canvas. I set myself to try to do as little work as possible in the physical structure of it, but just retheme it inside the existing building. I could have very easily tried to start from blue sky where I got to pick everything from the very beginning, but I decided for my first project like this, I'd really want to do something that was pretty, I wanted to do something that was pretty rigid that I had to kind of work inside of. And so it was fun to have this and be able to work inside. I want to give you a quick tour. I'll try to walk in here. If it's okay with you, I'd like to give you a tour of the facility once we turn the lights on. So we begin in, this is our door we come in. There's no real tracks on the floor. It's just modeled. We have 2 videos. You can see they're not linked currently on this new computer. We'll dive into those files next. We come to the music room where Figment's going to pop out and cause some hijinks. This is a very simply modeled keyboard, some holes in the wall with some sound material. These are 2D planes that have been cut out meticulously with the knife tool and a little amplifier that I built. Up next, we come to the animatronics, and we have an Abraham Lincoln, the first audio animatronic from the Walt Disney Company. This one I'm actually very proud of. And so if you look at Abe, it is just a skin model. It's just a simple model that I found online, and I was able to UV project it based on where he was standing, and based on the UV projections, you actually, if the light was in the back, you could see his face in the back. He is totally smooth faced. I could have put a nose in there, but I didn't, because I liked it. I liked how kind of not human he looked. One mistake I made that he's actually very big. So he is actually 13 feet tall. I should have had him smaller, but I figured that that was okay for this ride. Didn't make him seem larger than life. You can see some robots in the background. I tried to get some shop things. The next part of this is the butterfly illusion. The butterfly illusion is, I think, one of the best parts of the ride. And this was achieved by having a shader that changed with keyframes. So you can see, I tried to match the illusion. I could have maybe tried to rig it in such a way similar to the one in Epcot currently, but I decided to just sort of figure it out via Blender. Oh, we're in the ride. We're in the ride vehicle. Let's keep going. This is our kitchen with our chefs. Oops, went through the wall. Our chefs are cooking, and you can see this one I think is the biggest upgrade from the current thing of the fart machine. I think this one has a lot of character, and it's pretty cute. This animation I'm not the most proud of. Let's see if we can see what's happening here. So we have Figment, and he is, oh, he blips out a little bit there to just a purple blob. He's shaking that in. Here comes Dreamfinder with my voiceover.
Recipe.
And they go on. Let's keep walking and see what's next. In the video, I talk about how it's not fun to ride past walls, and I go and add a wall, so I'm no better than the Imagineers. This is my fake hallway. I don't think in this one it's very believable. You can see the watermark, so you can see how much work I put into that one. And now we go to our final room. This is our room where we grab all of these attractions from Disney World, Disneyland past. We have the Nautilus, we have the Avatar, we have ants. I remember these ants when I was little, and it was very, I don't know, this one stuck out to me. This is a personal one. We have the Fry Wagon. Never got to experience it, but I've heard lots of people, and who doesn't love McDonald's fries? Once again, more 2D planes just sort of cut out. We have Radiator Springs. I thought it was just a nice background that kind of matched the Fry Wagon. We have Buzzy. Buzzy is back and in one piece. He is Flat Buzzy actually, but he is guiding us through. And we have our Yeti in the dark, moving just as much as the real Yeti in Walt Disney World. And lastly, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, where we presumably end up in hell. So that is, I think, the Crazy Room. I don't know if it did the job as good as I wanted it to. You can see in here, we have these walls have UV mapped onto these pictures. There's been a little bit of stretching here and there. There is some painting. So this is just green texture painting. And we'll go to our final room. Our final room is dark until our ride car gets there. It's dark until the ride car gets there. And we can see a couple things in my Figment land that was kind of put together. Just give you an idea, you have a Figment Madame Leota, you have a Hatbox Dreamfinder, you have a Figment Tron cycle. I thought that was silly. Figment Epcot ball. It says Hotel Figment for the Tower of Terror. Figment Skyliners, I don't know if that one reads as well. You can see there's Figment on one, there's the building on the other, and there's Dreamfinder. And finally, you just have a purple Everest. Maybe there's a Figment Jungle Cruise. But everything is meant to be like Figment. And then the ride ends, there's no scary moon man, and that is the walkthrough of the ride. All right, so here is the animation for the intro video. Let's go all the way back to the beginning and walk you through it. So we start off, you can see our rig, but it does not show up. You'll see some people in blue. So these are yet to happen keyframes. You have all of the names of my rig. What I started with was hand animating these. Hand animation is incredibly difficult. I have so much more respect. I had respect before I started this, but the idea of how do I make this character come to life and draw it the same again and again became almost impossible. So we get to where Figment shows up in my animation. So this is set the scene. If you haven't seen the video, go watch the video. I worked hard on it. I think it's pretty good. This is your welcome. When you first come in, this is where it takes over where Nigel Channing is like, oh, welcome to the Imagination Institute. So we have Figment coming in. This was easy. These were blobs and some yellow stars and sparkles. And he pops up, blimp. And that's not what Figment looks like. And he's going to change dramatically. Boop. So for two different frames, he looks like that. This is what it looks like when he put that together. And these are just hand-drawn frames. And he's there. So when you see this Figment pop up, this is when our armature starts to work. So let's do this. Let's get rid of our background. I don't know where our background is. I think our background's here. Boop. And let's look at our Fig Rig. So our Fig Rig has a couple different armatures. You can see they're all named and they're all labeled. You have neck, body, bone, tail, tail. And what these do is these allowed me to manipulate Figment like a puppet more than drawing. So the drawing does not change. I'm moving it, I'm squishing, and I'm pulling them out. And you can see this is as kind of as far as everyone can go, and it also deforms the animation, the drawing a little bit. All it's doing is connecting these bones to a drawing inside of Blender. There are a lot of people that do this much, much better than me, and I tried to learn as much as I could to get this project done. Like you saw, done is better than perfect. Let's see if I can change this around. So for example, if I want to reanimate Figment, I can grab, can I grab it? Armature, no. Every one of these is also connected to a lattice. And so you actually have all of these. Let's see if I can isolate them. All right, let's do a right arm lattice. Let's get rid of all of this. Right leg, left arm, head, body, armature, stars, tail. So if you look right here at his right arm, you can see how this is going to work. And so the way this worked is inside here, object mode, we can grab this, and I have connected the drawing to the lattice to the bone. And that should let me move it around. If I grab it, you can see it is trying to mimic how these bones would work. It's almost breaking his arm there, but you can see it's giving a little bit of squashing and stretching, and that is all based on the size of the lattice, how the bones work, and so it's trying to do more puppet-like than actual animation. This I found out really quickly was a lot easier for me than to do the scene by scene and line by line, because that way I did not have a tablet for my Blender, so I was doing it all pretty much but with the mouse, and so it wasn't going to turn out as the same, as consistent as I wanted. Sorry, as consistent as I wanted. So here we see Figment talking, gesticulating, moving, and the hard part of this is getting it set up. Once it's set up, animating goes relatively quickly, and then when I was done, I had him bloop out and he's gone. The lattice stays there. All we're going to see in the end is the grease pencil object. And then you see Dreamfinder over here. He's only drawn kind of in one pose, kind of really generic pose, and then hooked up on a simpler model. Doesn't even have legs, you can see. This is my voiceover. I did voiceover for both characters. Probably not well. But this was the most intense part. And then I threw in a picture behind it that I took of the pavilion just to give a place. And so I exported this as one complete video, and then the video is playing in our file. But it's using these lattices, these kind of frameworks connected to the bones, connected to the drawings to make our animation. This didn't make it in the video. This is a model I found, I think it was for Google SketchUp actually, and it is of the animation pavilion, and I really like it. I think it's really nice, and there was thought at one point to make it how I presented the video, almost simulated being outside of it, but I never did that, but I thought this was nice. So this was probably my favorite piece that I did. This is the history of the ride in kind of a cutaway video. We're missing, oh yes, perfect. So our cutaway video, you can see, goes through the history of the ride with me talking about it, and kind of cycles through all these pictures, and we have some effects that are happening, and these effects are things like the years passing by, cameras, we have animated graphs. And like I showed you before, the way this worked is I had to outline what it all looked like on paper. I had to figure out where was everything sitting in space, and I actually just did a copy of it with my camera, and you can see that playing right here. This is me. I literally wrote on a piece of paper, I'm taking my camera, and I'm going over it. I'm trying to figure it out. I really liked this idea, and I ended up using it again on another video about Disney lines, where I was sort of dynamically generating. This one doesn't feel as animation the same way, but it is animated. But you can watch the camera move. And we end on a green screen. That green screen takes us back home. I can just key that out, chroma key that out. So the animation, there's one thing I did mess up, and it was really embarrassing. The animation, the first thing I say is like it was created from a line in Columbo, but it's actually Magnum PI, and that's just like the easy. I spent so much time working on this video that I messed up the most basic fact. Like that's on websites that you'll see, but it's okay. You can see some things, they don't move. They're just in there. I just have to like move around them. Oh, I delete those there. You can see, I realize, oh, I'm gonna have to come back that way, so I gotta get rid of them. That is the history part. I really like this part. This was the most fun, I think, to make, just because I felt the most competent. I felt like I was in charge of what was going on a lot easier than some other pieces. All right, I'd love to show you some of the paper stuff I worked on as well. Here is my folio that I kept most of my documents in, and you can see one of my mantras during this whole process: done is better than perfect. The video is not perfect by any means, and that's okay. I got to the point where I knew I could work on this for a long time, and I don't know if I would ever have been done. So In here you have a lot of great stuff. This is scripts. This is the current script. This is the previous one right before it with some notes. And the very first page is late in the process. I just kind of made a to-do list of all the pieces that need to be done. We're really close. There's a note card with my first sketch of the cart and like visualizing what that looked like. And there's like some music cues that I don't exactly remember with a little Figment drawing. You can see my concept art where it is mainly a shot from Blender with very little, there's just the gray scale on here of different locations. This is the detour, this is the music room, and I don't think it's coming across clearly, but what you can see here is I took these printouts and I just drew on them with good old-fashioned Bic round stick ballpoint pen. I love this ballpoint pen. It was fun sketching in a way that I could not replicate on a computer. It was easier to sit and doodle on these pages. This is probably one of the sections I'm most proud of in the shot. You can see all drawn in, the people, even colored in the the cart red. And the queue was one I struggled with a little bit on Procreate, but it really made sense in front of me. I followed drawing tutorials for Figment to try to just get his shape into my hands, and I tried making fresh ones that I didn't like as much, and some that were okay. This one looks a little bit too grown up. I think Figment's supposed to be childlike when I draw them. More references that I got from Pinterest that you probably couldn't get anymore because it's all AI. References that I found that I liked. These, especially for the full body size and sort of where his masses were. You can see I was trying to, maybe you can't, I was trying to find where his masses in his body was. And that was really helpful. This is Na'vi, Pandora, boat ride, concept art. This is monorail and even a submarine concept that I did not bring in. I was thinking about putting that in the final room. Didn't work out. Radiator springs, doodles. And so now we get closer to finished work. Not exactly, I think this one is finished. This is my cue, and I'll show the video here of me working on it in Procreate. I was really proud of this one. I think this one feels the most like a piece of concept art that you would see somewhere. Later on in the process, I ended up bringing in part of my hand sketch in here, and there are some effects in here I could not have done by hand, like the back wall and the word cloud. On the walls, I tried to make it look industrial, kind of look like it is used for business. You have Tony Baxter's room, you have Joe Rohde's room, you have hard hats hanging up here. There's even like a tesseract over here in the corner. I don't know if you can see that. But I love this one. I'm really happy and proud of this one. I think this is the one I would show off in this collection. This is the music room, uncolored. I have my final ones in the back. This is an in progress Abraham Lincoln, where at one point you can see I was going to have like a tour guide throughout the whole thing, and she would pop up here. You have the taste lab. I think this was my best improvement on the ride. Like if I'd like do one thing to make the ride better, it's get rid of the farting area. And this is painted, and I kept this red. I want this very vibrantly red. In a moment, I'm going to put on a gradient map. You can watch the video for that here. This is me working on this. So I took the blender, I'm painting over it, really just in black and white. And then at the very end, I'm going to hit it with a gradient map to give it some color, and I can come back in and adjust colors. But I really enjoyed this one. I think it's a fun form, like a circular form. I tried to keep that large, whatever fart machine in the ride in there, so I kept that form. This is the crazy room, and this was the hardest one to nail by far. If you can see, I started off by just literally copy and pasting things I liked and wanted to include in here. You have the Yeti, you have the Nautilus, Buzzy, the Fry Wagon, Mr. Toads. These all actually do make it in the final one. And so the thing I did right after this, I might have had a hand-drawn one, but my Procreate one, the one on my iPad, is this. And I really didn't like this one for some reason. Something about this one, I got to this point, and you can see it's very unfinished. Buzzy's just kind of there. There's a hint of something in this corner, but I just stopped this one. It wasn't reading well. I wasn't having fun making it. And so I stopped it because I kind of hit a dead end. I'll come back to this one later. This was for a fundraiser I did. I painted a Figment in watercolor. This is the test sketch. And to support theme park Stop Hate. And it was great. I had a Figment rig that I was working on. I don't like how he looks in this one, but I was just thinking about where his bones should be and what I wanted to articulate. I didn't use this one, actually. We have Dreamfinder. Look at him. I was really happy with him. Don't mind this hand, I fixed it in post. But we have our guy here. He kind of looks like one of the characters in Out, one of the shorts that Disney came out with, but that's fine. I think he looks cool. I think he looks hip. This is a bird's eye view of the ride. I thought it looked bad when I was done with it, so that's why I didn't put it in the movie, in the video. Yeah. It's important to have not three quarters view, but bird's eye view. But I didn't like how this turned out. Aha. So this is my hand-done version of the Crazy Room. So we have this to this. And I like this so much more. It doesn't really have as much like mapping to the room itself, but I really just like, it gives me energy. I like it. I'm really happy with my Yeti. I just think it's closer to what I want it to be because I think it communicates the idea. Maybe it's not an exact version of what it looks like, but I like it. And then this is my semi-final version for my Figment Land. This was really just off the cuff because I knew I was going to do a lot of the work in the program itself. Let's talk about the history. So the history, I had all the ideas planned out. And so what I did is I mapped out everything I wanted to talk about, everything that needed a visual. And then I took my phone and then I just went over it and recorded a very simple video. You can see that playing now. This is the video I took without any of the words. And then I recreated this in Blender. Really like it. This was done on my lunch break one day. And I had a lot of fun doing that one. Right here in the back, I have some like final drafts of things. So you can see, what is this? I don't know what this is. So here is a final taste lab with that kind of like reddish orange gradient applied over it, but I tried to keep the vehicle really bright and standing out. I really like this one. I'm proud. Here's my queue design, maybe with a little touch up, maybe a little bit of lighting enhanced on it. We have the music section, a little more filled out, but without the sparkles. I think I should have put. I inverted my ride map, and I think it looks better. I don't love it, but I think it looks better like that. Here's Figment Land. Each of these are on different layers, so I could export them to Blender. I like these. I think there were some that didn't make it. Those are my sketchbook. Here is a fixed Dreamfinder. Look at that great hand. Forearm's not the best, but Dreamfinder's there. He's ready to go. I like him. I think he's a good rebrand. Here is the Detour. It actually is very similar to what they have currently, but I tried to plus it up a little more with some graffiti and some fireworks and some sparkles and some lights. Then I put just the smallest amount of lighting on this one. You could see some pink light hitting Buzzy, some green light over here. There's Abe. This one's a lot plainer. This one does not excite me looking at it, but I think it's a great scene in the video. That's a Dreamfinder sketch on the back of an old draft of the script. This is a 6-month-old draft. You have notes over here where I'm calculating capacity. I don't know off the top of my head if those are correct. Look at all these. Yeah. It changed a lot. I tried to clean it up a little bit. But that is my little portfolio. Let me show you my sketchbook that I did some work into. Like I said, I have mantras on my things. It looks like bad drawings only, just so I don't get critical when I'm drawing. This is one of the first, I remember this page very clearly, and it is all the things I needed to do to get it done. So I have to finish script, write animatics, fix the timing. The timing I think was really interesting. I went on a family trip and I recorded the whole ride with my stuff. And I used that and turned that into frames, the amount of frames it took, so 24 frames per second to get my timing. Yeah, there was a logo design. I tried to make a logo kind of like the old Epcot logos, but it didn't really, I didn't use it. I didn't like it, the one I made. We have Hollywood sign, Epcot ball with ears. I added wings too, I think that's better. Tower of Terror, Jungle Cruise, Figment Cruise I wrote. Figment Dumbo actually is more like Dreamfinder Dumbo, which I think looks really cool. And they could add to the Imagination Pavilion. I don't think it'd be that hard. Figment Tron, Small World, dressed as Dreamfinder. I don't know. That's not a great representation, but I think that'd be really cute. And I hope they do that one day. I had a group of people meet on Zoom, and we drew together on Friday nights. And one time I was working on Figment, and these are some of the passes. You can see I didn't know what I was doing earlier, but just enough times I got somewhere else pretty happy with. And then still just doodling in my free time, a Figment. This one looks almost a little more anime, but I like it. It's cute. It's cute. All right, well, that is all of the ones I've done. Those are all of the things that went in. It was a lot of work. I was really happy with the final product. I know it wasn't perfect, but I was really proud of everything I put together, and I grew so much. I think if I had to remake that video now, it would be a lot quicker. But what's on next on the horizon? I've been toying with a Mary Poppins ride. I've been thinking that'd be fun to design. My kids love Mary Poppins, and it is just getting to imagine them, getting to experience that. I think they'd really love that. But also Dinoland USA. I think I'm going to pour a little bit of effort into reimagining what Dinoland should have been, because it's changing to, tropical America's Indiana Jones Encanto house. And I think it's a shame that dinosaurs aren't getting the love they deserve. So look out for that if that's what I end up doing. I got a lot of other little projects. If you haven't seen the original video, please go check it out. Is it perfect? No, but I worked pretty hard. I think it's pretty good. That should be linked here. Thank you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them.